It's always an honor to visit with this guy. You know him, of course, best as the singer and guitarist from the legendary ZZ Top. He also is here to talk about a brand new solo album called Hardware. It is the one and only Mr. Billy F. Gibbons. Billy, good to see you, man.
Same here on this side. Always good to reconnect. And you're right. We're chasing fast and furiously on the release of this new Hardware. Has got us quite excited, man.
Yeah, well, I want to talk about this and a few things with you, but just before we got on the air, I was telling my audience that I'm buying a place in Vegas next week, and that I was telling them how many rock people have relocated there and lived there. And we were talking off the air. You actually have a home there as well, and it's a bit historic in some ways. Can you share that with? I don't want you to tell the audience where you live. You don't need to give your address, but the house has got some pretty cool history, right?
Well, yeah, as a matter of fact, they'd be hard pressed to find anything at the moment. It's 120 degrees today, record breaking heat. So I doubt if anybody'd be kicking up their heels and tiptoeing down the avenues. But as we were fortunate enough to mention, the curtain seems to be rising across the country, and we are absolutely delighted. It looks like that we'll be hitting the road soon to make lots of loud noise.
So have you hit the road yet? Have you played some shows yet with the band? Has there been anything yet, or are you just ramping up to that?
Oh, actually, I flew to Nashville, Tennessee to play the Grand Ole Opry a couple of weeks ago. And what a delight getting out and actually bringing the guitar in front of some folks. It was back to square one. We still enjoy getting to do what we get to do, and that was quite a bonus.
As a guy that has spent more than 50 years on the road and touring, both with ZZ Top and, of course, other things as well, what was the lockdown like for someone like you? Was it a bit of a reset and a recharge? Did you enjoy aspects of being stationary for a while, or did you just want to get back out there as soon as possible?
Well, it was a balanced or attempt to be balanced between both sides of it. On one hand, it's the first time in over 5 decades when I was able to spend more than 3 days in one spot. And then you look at it and say, well, there was no choice. You had to stay in the same spot. But it's funny you should bring that up. I've got this new trio with Matt Sorum and Austin Hanks. And of course, I'll be going back in to meet Frank and Dusty. Someone said, gee whiz, he said, you stay with this skinny lineup, a trio over here and a trio over there, particularly when it comes to ZZ Top. How did 3 guys manage to stay together for 5 decades uninterrupted? And as you and I spoke about the joys of home ownership, someone said, well, where actually do you live? We know Los Angeles, Texas, Las Vegas. Now it's back to living on a rolling house called a tour bus. It just keeps changing towns.
What do you attribute the fact to that you're the only band I can think of, maybe ZZ Top, and I think U2 come to mind, that has never changed lineups? There's bands that still have the original lineup, but it's very rare to say the entire history. And you guys, like you said, over 50 years, the same 3 guys. It's truly remarkable. Do you have anything you can attribute that to? That's rarefied air.
Separate buses.
3 guys, 3 buses, right?
Yeah.
Well, if that's all it takes, there's got to be more than that, because if that's all it takes, every other band would be doing it.
Yeah,
every other band would have separate buses.
Oh, yeah.
So tell me about the Hardware record, Billy. How did this come together? You mentioned Matt Sorum. I know he's a big part of it as well, former Guns N' Roses drummer. You have history with him. Tell me about this record and putting it together.
Well, both Matt and Austin Hanks unexpectedly rang me up and announced that they were coming to scoop me up and drag me out to a recording studio. What they said was in Joshua Tree. And I inadvertently referred to the one and only studio that I knew about called, it was David Ketching's place called Rancho de la Luna, where I had worked recently with Josh and Queens of the Stone Age. And both Matt and Austin said, "Oh, you're close, you're getting close. It's across the street." And I thought, gee, I don't know of another studio. What they didn't tell me was when they said across the street, it was across the street and 20 miles. Literally out in the middle of the desert. But the interesting aspect is when you're surrounded with nothing, the good news is that the way out of it is to start doing something. And I guess to answer your question, that's really how the record started.
So did you do it during the pandemic? Was this a product of the lockdown and you having the time?
Yeah, they called back in June, and we arrived thinking that we were just going to spend, I don't know, maybe 30 minutes having a look at this studio. But, checking out a room with 4 walls and no windows doesn't take much time. But those 30 minutes turned into 30 days, which turned into month after month. We walked in and never left. It was pretty enticing.
So as far as writing the material, did you do it all on the spot at the studio, or did you go in with stuff?
We showed up with blank paper and a pencil.
Wow.
Yeah, but
and you just worked on the fly. You started jamming and you saw what came out.
Yeah, but you bring up an interesting kind of a starting point for us was using that mysterious energy that you find out there in the desert. I mean, Joshua Tree, let's face it, it's a very famous spot. You can read about it. You can even see photographs of it. But I think words defy the experience. Once you step inside the confines of that part of the world, there is a unusual energy that can't be denied. It's really, well, we used it as to our advantage as a kind of a bolster for the creative process. We found it to be kind of a cool spot. Well, not cool at 120 degrees.
So how does making a record for you, talk about the differences in making a record for you like this on your own with these guys versus going in and making a record with ZZ Top when you do that? Does ZZ Top operate in a similar way where when you've gone in and made records, you just kind of jam and see where it goes? Or is it usually everybody bringing in material there?
Yeah, I think what would the distinguishing difference would be a ZZ Top outing brings along a sense of comfortable familiarity. We go in with a pretty good background of things that have made sense in the past. What I did like was balancing the challenge of tiptoeing into uncharted waters with Austin and Matt. Austin and I, we made the assignment to that famous backbeat. Matt Sorum is a powerhouse to begin with. So I said, "Austin, what do you think?" He said, "Yeah, give it to Matt. Let him start the backbeat."
How did you first get to know Sorum? You do some Kings of Chaos stuff, right, with him?
Yes, indeed. I've known Matt, oh gosh, seemingly forever, as a follower of what he did way back with The Cult, Guns N' Roses, and of course, can't leave out Velvet Revolver, another great aggregation. And then Matt organized this kind of jam band group, which he tagged Kings of Chaos, which it really is. And if we find time to get off the road, if there's an opportunity to join in that festivity, we'll hit the deck rather stridently. But Matt, he's a great leader, and I really like what he likes to drive that Cadillac.
Yeah, he's done some stuff people may not realize too. Like he actually played in Motorhead for a short period of time. I saw him do that.
Oh man, I've only heard about it, and I've heard it firsthand from Matt. And man, when he starts talking about his days with Motorhead, he tightens up. He says, "Oh my God, you have to remind me." So it was really wild.
Yeah, he said it was a grueling gig. And, he had a cool band recently that Geezer Butler was in and Steve Stevens, Deadland Ritual, but I think that's done, unfortunately. I don't think that one lasted. I had them all on to promote it, but I think it's kind of, didn't get off the mat like they hoped.
Yeah, I never got to see Matt playing with Motorhead. I did see Deadland Ritual. We were both sharing a bill overseas. I think it was one of the big festivals in Europe. That was also a great outing. You bring up another great player, Steve Stevens. Yeah. He too joins us with Kings of Chaos on occasion. It's you never know what's going to happen.
Yeah, that's a cool thing. Going back to the Hardware record, on the back of the CD, as I'm looking at it here, you dedicate the record to the memory of the late legendary producer, Joe Hardy. Can you talk a little bit about that decision and the impact Joe had on you as a musician?
Oh, yeah. Joe and I became fast and furious friends from our days in Memphis, Tennessee. Joe was serving as one of the chief engineers at Ardent Recording Studios. And I'll tell you how we go back all the way to the release of Tres Hombres, which was the first excursion into that interesting musical town of Memphis, Tennessee. But Joe and I worked on projects that would probably have been still sitting on the shelf had it not been for his expertise as an engineer. He was such a forward thinker. Before you could even finish a sentence, he said, "Yeah, I know where you're going. We've done that. What's next?" Great guy.
Wow. Yeah. You've dedicated this record to him. So tell me the plan now. You're going to do shows in support of Hardware. You're going to go out and do shows live with this band. Is that the plan?
Any port in the storm.
You're ready to go.
Yeah, we're standing in line with everybody else. We've been around, the same four walls for, I guess you'd call it enough time. Let's get out there.
Well, there's stuff happening now. I mean, there's a ton of shows and tours being announced every day. Do you have concrete stuff lined up to play live with this band for this year?
Yeah, I've heard the good word is finding out how to wedge in Billy F. Gibbons and the BFGs along with ZZ Top. The good news is as long as I'm in there somewhere, I like spanking the plank, as you know.
As long as you're invited to the party, getting to play. And what's the latest on the ZZ Top front? You guys have shows lined up? Have you had some discussion about a record? Where are things at there?
Yes, in fact, I'll be meeting both Dusty and, of course, Frank, the man with no beard. We'll be dusting off we'll be preparing a new road show. I believe that it may be as early as before summer's over, we're going to be hitting the touring trail.
Okay, so some ZZ Top shows soon, sounds like. Some
stuff coming up right around the corner, sure enough. Yep.
And Billy, it's remarkable. You talk about ZZ Top having done this for all these decades, for more than 50 years, the same three guys. I can tell in just talking to you now, it's still something getting out and playing is still something that is such a passion for you. I think a lot of people would think 50 plus years on the road and doing it. You hear from a lot of guys, I'm over it. I can't do it anymore. I don't feel like doing it. It's too much. I don't like the road. You seem to have the same vigor for it as you've always had. It's really still very much something you love, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. And as you point out, the mysteries of what descended to the unsuspecting planet has really stirred up the interest to get back and being able to kick your heels up. It's all about having a good time, and that's what our aim has not changed. It's still there.
And one final question for you. Last time I think you were on my show, it was to promote the ZZ Top documentary, which had just come out at the time. We did that show at the Rainbow. And in retrospect, now that doc has been out there, what is the response you've heard about it from fans, and how do you feel about it now that a couple years has passed since it came out?
Well, the skeleton's out of the closet. All of our secrets are on the street now. There's one interesting aside. When we found ourselves revisiting one of the old honky tonks where ZZ Top got their start, we set up thinking that we were just going to film 30, 60 seconds of a couple of songs from the early days. We wound up playing for about 2 hours. And the good news is the engineer had the tape machine running, and they are actually preparing to release a series of those recordings as a companion to that documentary series. So get ready. You'll hear ZZ Top playing it as we started out 5 decades in the past. It'll be something.
Wow, that is amazing. And it just came to me now thinking about the documentary. There's that great moment in it about the fan, the guy who first came, only one guy, and you're like, don't leave, and he still comes to see you to this day.
Yeah, we still don't know his name. We just know him as the guy. The guy is here.
For people that don't know, if you never saw the ZZ Top documentary, I think you can see it now. It's on Netflix or Amazon or one of those things, but it's fantastic. And there's a story there where one of the first times they played, there was only one person. And I believe you say in the doc, he felt so awkward being the only person there that he was going to leave when you started playing. And you said, no, stay. And he still comes to the shows to this day.
Yeah, we went ahead and delivered the first set. We took a break. We went out, bought him a Coca-Cola. Came back and finished the show, and he was happy and we were happy. To this day, we look forward to seeing the guy.
And one last thing just hit me. You of course a legendary guitar player who've influenced so many. We lost a guy recently who's done the same thing, certainly in the hard rock world, and that was Eddie Van Halen. And I'm curious, did you have any relationship with Eddie? Did you know him at all? Did you have any experiences with him? And what were your thoughts when you first heard him play?
Oh my goodness, knew him well from the very first record. And he was actually, as it came to pass, I discovered that he was a neighbor very close to the house back in Los Angeles. And I first heard word, hey man, there's a guy that plays some interesting guitar riffs. Maybe you should get together, only to discover that sitting in the record bin was the first Van Halen record. They had already picked up steam, and fortunately, I was able to go out and catch a live show, and that blew my mind. I said, oh my gosh, these guys have got it going on. I miss him dearly.
Yeah, I was curious because obviously his guitar style is so very different than yours, but I imagine for you it must have been like, what is this guy doing? Like, what we've heard that from a lot of people, but for it was just just took the world by storm. And I would imagine that you probably were trying to process exactly what was going on when you first heard that, right?
Yeah, you're right. We play in different styles. He and I used to get together because we both discovered we had a passion for Mexican food. And after his passing, there's not a day that goes by when I can dip into a bowl of hot sauce, and it's kind of like kind of a revisit of fond recollections of being able to hang out together. It's something else.
Yeah, yeah. Well, Billy, thank you so much for the time, man. It's always great to visit with you. Again, everybody check out the new record, Billy F. Gibbons, Hardware. It is out now. It sounds great, just great bluesy rock music as you've brought it to us for decades and continue to do. And we look forward to some ZZ Top activity and hopefully with one of these bands seeing you out there on the road soon doing working your magic on the guitar. We look forward to that.
Well, thank you for that. Always good to talk to you, and I'll take your directive. Well, wherever we may be, it's going to be turned up loud.
कैसे भूल पैगु जान बगिया उतलैया हो अटके में आके ऊ पकड़ल हमर बहिया हो कैसे